Welcome to the Chief Architect Master Bath Remodeling Seminar. In this session we're going to take a look at an as-built condition with a small bath and closet. We're going to then expand that to a larger bath and a much larger closet. During the session I'm going to break up the video into a few different topics. First we're going to take a look at the as-built and actually how to do the 2D plan details. I'll go through the remodel plan changes, removing walls and expanding the rooms. We'll take a look at the room materials and adding the shower. In the rendering you can see the custom vanity. I'm going to go through the steps in creating that. We'll do the wall elevation and dimensions, and finally we'll take a look at placing some LED lights and the accessories. Let's go ahead and get started with the 2D plan details. As we begin the process, let's examine the as-built condition. You can see the as-built walls laid out in the 2D and in the 3D in this screen. And here's a closer look at just the floor plan view. One of the first things that I've done is I've identified the walls that will need to be removed, and I've done this with a key code, as you can see, with the dashed lines and the fill style. The next step is to identify where the new walls are going to go, and again you can see the fill style that I've placed on the plan here. The final plan that will be completed when we finish the project. Let's take a look at the steps involved in how to create your 2D details for your plans inside the program. To generate the as-built and remodel details, what I've done in the program is I've created a series of saved plan views. And as I switch this to the floor plan demo, you can see the overlay that I've used with a polyline and a fill style. If I change the saved plan view to the modifications, again you can see the additional walls that we're going to add and how we're going to expand things. And then finally, the saved plan view that I have for the new plan will overlay the new outline of all of the walls and turn off the layers for the demo and the new added walls. Let me show you the steps that I've used in creating that. So if you like to repeat that for your as-built and remodel projects, you can see how I've done this. With remodeling projects, the 3D views are a great way to show your clients what the space is going to look like and how it will be transformed. There may be times that you need to show the details in your plan sets. Let's switch over to the 2D view and take a look. In Chief Architect you can use layers and layer sets to control what you see in different views. In this floor plan set you can see that I've turned on the different walls and cabinets, turned off my dimensions. I've created a layer set very similar to this and turned on a demo legend. Let's switch using a plan view and turn that on. You can see that I've created a polyline down here in the bottom of my screen with a legend that will indicate for demo walls. Now to create an overlay for these demo walls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a polyline and draw over the walls that we want to demo. Using the Polyline tool, let's go ahead and use a rectangular polyline and let's draw over the particular walls that we want to remove to demo. I'll come back and deal with the fill style here in just a minute. We'll draw over these couple of walls just using that rectangular polyline, snap onto the bottom, and finally this half wall up here near the toilet. Now that I've got those drawn, I'm going to go ahead and use the object eyedropper up in my upper menu. I'm going to pick up the properties off of my legend and I'm going to come over here and apply these onto the polylines that we just created. And you can see that fill style get applied. In this plan I also created a layer set for the modification walls that we're going to add. If I switch that layer set through my plan view, I can now draw over the top of this area with a polyline where the added walls will be. And just to help me during this video, I put a few marks out here as I draw these polylines to position it. Let's go ahead and use our polyline tool just like we did earlier, and we'll draw out these different lines. So I'm just going to snap onto these items. Again, all I'm trying to do is show what's going to happen in the plan view for the added walls. We're going to create an enclosed shower space and water closet in this area, so we'll just come in here and draw those out. And one final wall down here that will expand into the closet, again we'll just come down here and snap that into place. Once I'm finished, again I'm going to use the object eyedropper, pick up from the wall legend polyline that I created, and I'm just going to come down here and apply that onto the different walls so it's very easy to see what's going on. Now as I switch back to the demo set, notice you don't see the modification walls. A little added detail of what just happened is when I drew those polylines, each one of these, if you notice when I click on the wall legend down here, the layer is actually on a layer called Demo. And by switching my default, when I change my layer sets, it then controls what you see on the Demo layer set and what you see on the Modification layer set. And when you switch it, in this case I have both the demo walls and the new walls on the same layer. If you look at my active defaults right now, when I drew those CAD objects, I'm currently using a layer called New. And if you want to learn more about layer sets, and actually this is controlled through an annotation set in Chief Architect Premiere, you can learn more about that in the help file and other videos. But there's a very easy way to help scope and show different views for your floor plans. Now the final thing I want to do is I want to skip ahead and show you how the final floor plan will look, because it's a little difficult to tell how this is going to evolve. As you can see, I bring up an image of the completed floor plan, and actually what I like to do in this as-built model is overlay that image on top of our existing plan so I can easily show all three of these different views: the demo walls, the added walls, and then finally what it's going to look like completed. Let me show you how I do a screen capture to bring this in. You can obviously drag an image in, but I like to be a little bit more precise so I can overlay that. Inside the program, there's a tool called Cad Detail from View. When you choose that option, whatever's on your screen, it's going to create a capture of it, and it's going to convert everything into lines and objects. So this is going to be the screen capture that I'm going to use. Before I block it together and paste it into the other plan, I actually want to put a fill style because I don't want to see the underlying walls of the existing floor plan. To do that, I'm just going to use a rectangular polyline. I'm just going to draw it right around the outside of this structure. Then I'm going to put a fill style on it as a solid white. Under the fill style, we'll come down here, choose the color, and I'm just going to use a white color. And the final thing is to remove the line style, and I'm actually just going to come down here and find a blank line. With the fill style complete, let's use the draw order move, and we'll send that to the very back of the draw order, and now you can see over the top. And what I've done here is I've created a mask that will hide the underlying walls when we paste this into the other plan. Holding my Shift key down, let's just draw a marquee right around the outside of this. I'm going to create a block so it makes it easy to move and manipulate. Once it's a block, let's go ahead and open it up, and I've created a layer for it called the New Plan Footprint. I'm going to go ahead and press Control-C or Command-C to copy it from my clipboard. Let's go back to our plan modifications. And in this plan, I've created a layer set very similar to this one, but it turns off all the modifications. And let's go ahead and use the Edit, Paste, Hold position. And now you can see that pastes it right over the top of our as-built walls. And since I drew that polyline solid with a white fill, you actually can't see it. And as we toggle back through the original layer sets and plan sets, here's my original as-built plan, my demo plan. Notice that it changes what the different layers are on and off. My layer set changes when I change the plan set, and the plan modifications. The saved plan views, which is what I'm using here, allows me not only to save the layer set with it, but also the different active defaults. So with my plan modifications, if you look at all my active defaults, here they all are, and I put all of these on the same layer for new. So the saved plan views not only save your layer sets, but they also save your active defaults. And that's what allows me to quickly toggle things on and off. In the next segment of the video, let's take a look at the remodel plan changes. I want to go in and actually do the wall demo and prepare the room for the new space. I'm going to change the layer set and save plan view to the demo set. This is going to help me identify which walls need to be removed. And the first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and click on this wall down here. Make sure that you get the wall and not the room. While it's selected, I'm going to press delete. And on this wall and this wall, I'm actually going to use the break tool because only a portion of those walls are going to be removed. You'll find the wall break tool up in the upper menu. Let's go ahead and select that tool. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click in this intersection. I'm going to come over here and click in this intersection. We'll highlight the walls, press delete, and press delete. Let's take a look in 3D. And a lot of times I like to use this perspective floor camera overview tool so I can get a quick view without the ceiling. So you can see we removed a portion of this wall and then we moved the back wall back in this area. Let's go back to the plan. Let's turn on the plan modifications for the walls that we need to add. Now notice that I didn't actually delete the wall that's underneath of this one because I'm actually going to just slide that out because it's an exterior wall. We'll snap that into place. That should have extended this wall down here. And then on the upper portion of that wall, let's go ahead and use this diamond, and we'll just kind of pull it back. Make sure that we snap that into place. And actually, if you zoom way in, my move handle highlighted by red showing the wall on the inside, that's an exterior wall. While that's selected, let's go ahead and flip that layer so that it's toward the outside, and then we'll snap that into place. Now the next thing we want to do is trace over the other wall polylines and add our walls. I'm going to use the interior wall tool, and I'm just going to come down here and trace over the top of these walls. And I'll come back and change the wall type here in just a minute. Trace over this wall, and let's go ahead and trace over this wall. And let's go ahead and delete these extra room labels that came in. Now the first thing is, this wall in here is a 6-inch wall. And what I want to do is change that wall layer to be a 6-inch wall. If I open the wall layer up and go to the wall types, let's change that to an interior 6 so it can be used as a plumbing wall. Notice that I have a different fill style. And then on this wall down here, this is going to be for our shower. Let's go ahead and make that change. And that wall type would be a glass wall. And then we'll position that into place. And then finally, let's go ahead and remove the different doors that are in the plan. We'll just go ahead and delete this one, and there's one more down here. And let's go back to 3D and take a look. Okay, so we have the walls in place. Let's go ahead and remove all of the interior furnishings and fixtures back into plan view. Let's change our layer set back to just the floor plan, and let's go ahead and highlight these objects and delete them. I'm just going to draw a marquee around a few of these things and then completely remove them. And then we'll go ahead and remove this area in here. This is garage storage. Back into the 3D view, you can see the space has now taken shape of the final space for the remodel project. Let's go ahead and add our doors and windows next. I'll first place a few doorways in the 3D view. We'll come back and dimension these in the 2D view when we finish. Those will be used for barn doors, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Let's place a hinge door inside of what will be the water closet. And then I'm going to open up my library to place the shower door. And what I've done here is I've created a favorites folder. To save that, let's go ahead and flip that door swing area around. You'll find a tool down here to flip the swing and the hinged area, and then you can bump that against the wall. With the doors in place, let's go ahead and switch and place a few of our windows. Let's rotate our view around a little bit. I'm going to use the window tool, and I'm going to place a window on this outside wall over here. And we'll also place one more window, rotate around, on this wall up here. And then I want to resize this one to be, let's say, 42 inches. So let's just slide that out, be 42 inches. And then back into the plan view to dimension this. I'm going to go ahead and switch my layer set and plan view to the kitchen and bath set. Turn off some of the wall layers and text in here. I'm going to use the dimension tools. Let's go ahead and use the dimension tool for dimensioning those openings. And let's just come through here and we'll pull this dimension out. And the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this window is exactly 2 1/8 inches from the inside of that wall. And then we're going to also set this one to be exactly right next to the other wall. So that takes care of that dimension. Let's go ahead and run one more dimension. Typically I run these on the inside of the wall so it picks up the interior casing. Go ahead and slide that to the outside of the wall. Highlight the wall. Highlight the dimension. I'm going to also set this to be 9 1/8 inches. And then we'll use one more dimension. Come through here, pick up the casing, and I'm going to slide this over, and again highlight the doorway, and in this case I'm going to put that at 40 inches. If you want to use the interior dimension tool, let's go ahead and use the interior dimension tool, and we'll draw a couple of dimension lines through here. Go ahead and pull this out. Now it's picking this extra dimension up because we have a wall type change. We'll just pull that extra diamond off. Again, let's just use our interior dimension tool and draw a few dimensions across here. And then we can also use the end-to-end dimension tool, which will ignore those interior lines, pick those up, and when I'm finished here we'll go ahead and move these dimensions around. Let's begin down here at the bottom. Let's just pull these out a little ways, and we'll pull this one up, and we'll pull this one over. So for the most part, I have the dimensions that I need for the plan. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose the barn doors and place these. And typically the way the barn doors work is you place a doorway in the program, and then these are add-on symbols that you can easily place in the design. You can find these on our 3D library and download different styles of these barn doors. Let's go back into the 3D view, and you can see the barn doors that we've placed for the closet area and entering into the bathroom. Now the next thing we want to do is we're going to end up placing a tub back in this corner in here, and I want a privacy window. And to do that I want to frost the glass in here. Let's browse out to the library, and I'm just going to search for milk glass or frosted glass. Milk glass will allow us to frost that. Let's go ahead and apply that onto the window so we can obscure that and provide the privacy we need for that particular window. The other thing I would do inside that window, if I'm going to do a window schedule, is maybe on the object information, I might go ahead and put that it's frosted glass. Now the next thing is, let's go ahead and change a few of the materials. Back here for the closet, again, I've saved in my favorites folder some of the materials. If I browse back out to my materials for this, I'm going to find the material that I want for the flooring in there, and let's go ahead and apply that. And the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and place moldings in these rooms. Remember, this started back here as a garage area that we expanded the closet into. If I click in the center of the room, I'm going to hold my shift key down. I'm going to grab these three rooms. And if I double click to open them up, let's go to the moldings and let's just use the default for this floor and place a molding in here. And let's see what happens. The molding looks good back in here. It looks fine in the water closet. And if you zoom in, you're going to notice that we now have a molding on the outside of our glass. Now you can control moldings on a per wall basis, but what you have to do is you have to convert that to a manual molding. Inside of the room, let's go ahead and highlight the room. And there's a tool to do this called Make Room Molding Polyline. And when you click this, it's basically going to convert your current molding into a manual molding. And let's just go ahead and click OK. Once you've done that, you now have little segments on each one of the walls, and to remove that molding off, you can highlight it. Notice my red highlight for that edge. And in the lower menu, there is a Remove Molding from Selected Edge. That allows you to control that, so if you have a crown molding in a kitchen, or a molding in this case for the shower, you can identify each one of those components and remove it. Let's go ahead and rotate around. And I'm going to remove it off of this wall as well. And notice I have a segment over here. Let's just pull that over and connect it in. I have a segment because that's an exterior wall on the outside. I'm going to remove the molding off of this wall, and I'm also going to remove it off of this wall because that's going to become our cabinet wall, and I want to have more control over it. Now the next thing that I want to do for this molding is I actually want to use this to create a wainscot condition and raise it up and apply tile to it. On that molding, let's double click to open the molding, and I want to use this as a wainscoting, so let's go ahead and change the height of this to 54 inches and 1/2 inch in thickness. And then what I want to do is use the material Eyedropper and apply the tile from the floor onto that molding. By doing it this way, I'm actually going to get a nice materials takeoff. Let's zoom out a little bit and rotate around, and let's also apply that same tile onto the water closet area. And again, we're going to come back and change the molding on the left side wall. The next thing I want to do is use the backsplash for this wall. And after we place the cabinets, I'm going to come back to that wall and adjust it around the cabinets. Using the backsplash tool, let's go ahead and just click on the wall and place the backsplash. And you can see it's using my default backsplash tool. Let's pull that down to the 54 inches, and then we'll apply that same material. So we'll just pull that down, snap it into the same position. The next material that I'm going to apply is for the shower. I've saved in my folder here my favorite material that I want to use for the walls. You can apply this on a per wall basis or on the room. In this case, I'm just going to click on the individual walls and make that change. And then next, let's go ahead and apply a Strata stone onto the floor for the material. Again, we'll do that on a per object basis. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to name each one of these rooms. This is now our closet. Let's just verify that it is the closet. You come in here to the general component. The room name is closet. Notice that I've typed over the top of that to be master closet. I want it to read a different name. Same thing in the shower area. Let's click on this room. What I might do is give it the main name of the room that it's in, and then under here I'll come in here and type a specific name, but not turn on the label because these are typically small rooms. Let's also do the water closet. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure that it's named a master bath. And if you want to type in water closet, again, I typically don't show the names of those unless it's necessary. While my library is still open, let's go ahead and place our fixtures for the water closet and the shower. Let's begin with the water closet. Let's grab our toilet, see if we can come in here and place the toilet. I may have to rotate my view around here just a little bit. Go ahead and place the toilet. And then let's find our shower components. Here's the shower valve and head. We'll go ahead and place that on the back wall back here. And then we'll just rotate around and we'll put another fixture on this side wall. Again, using the same shower valve head. Click and place it over here. And then let's come down and let's find our strip drain, and we'll place that strip drain back here against the wall. And then the final fixture, let's just kind of rotate our view up here. Again, in my library, I've saved a favorite with a freestanding tub and faucet. We'll come over here, click and place that in this area. Most of the time, it's much easier to place those objects in 2D. I'm placing them in 3D just to show you how it works in the video. Now, the next thing I want to do is for the shower is I'm going to create a bench. And if I toggle on my vector view so you can see where that glass is a little easier, I want to take this bench and have it extend out through this wall. And I'm going to draw this in the plan view. Let's go back to the plan view. I typically use a Polyline solid to draw my bench. Let's go ahead and come in here, snap into the corner, come out, and if you press the Tab key, you can actually get your dimensions. This typically only works in Chief Architect Premiere. Go ahead and put in 78 inches for the length of this, and then 12 inches for the width of it. I usually also like to put a fill style on these, so it's easy to see what's going on in the plan. And we'll come down here and I'll just take the edge off of that. I also like to make these somewhat transparent, so if you have a drain or something that's underneath of it, you can still see what's going on. Let's go back to the 2D or the 3D view. And let's adjust this bench to be at the right height. On the component here, let's go ahead and set the thickness to be 4 inches and the floor to top at 17. The next thing I want to do is use a material eyedropper, and we can then apply that material onto the bench. If I toggle on the standard camera view, many times you may want to have a top material that's a little bit different than the other material. And what I'll do is, a lot of times, let's just actually return back to the plan view so it's a little bit easier to do this. While the bench is highlighted, let's go ahead and use the Copy and Place tool. You'll see that down in my lower left edit menu. Copy and place, and then let's go ahead and open this up, and for the thickness, I'm going to set it to be a 1/2 inch, and then the floor to top, let's set it to be 17.5. And let's extend it so that we have a 1/2 inch on each side. While it's still selected, let's grab this edge over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and with this dimension, let's put in 78.5 inches. That'll extend it out a 1/2 inch, and you can see that this left edge is selected, or the top edge. We'll do the same thing. We'll put it at 12.5 inches. And that should give us a 1/2 inch overhang, and we can go back into the floor plan camera and take a look at that. And the last thing I need to do is just change the material. I want to grab it off of the shower. To do that, let's go into our overhead camera, and we'll use the material eyedropper off of the surface material on the walls, and we'll just apply that to the top cap. And as you rotate down and around, you can see that we actually have the different material for the top cap. Using the copy and paste and then those temporary dimensions allows a quick way to resize your objects. Next, for the shower, I want to go ahead and place a couple of niches on the walls in the shower. Let's reorient the view a little bit. Using the niche tool, let's go ahead and find our niche. Let's double click on it and set the dimensions initially for the niche. If we come in here, you notice that my niche is set to be 14.5 inches by 22. You can also define what materials you want as your default. Let's go ahead and click on the back wall here. And I'm going to add a second niche on this other side wall. Again, let's pull our view down. We'll use the niche tool and we'll click and place where we want that niche to go. Now, the next session in the video, I want to go through and create the custom vanity and the different components that make up this vanity. In creating the vanity, let's begin by placing a base cabinet, and let's make a few customizations to it. First thing I want to do is I want to change the door hardware and remove the countertop. Let's go ahead and open up the cabinet dialog. And I'm going to change the height of this cabinet to be 28.5 inches in height. Next thing I want to do is I want to completely remove the countertop. set as 0. See the preview of it. On the front of the cabinet, let's go ahead and make a couple of changes here. On the front of the cabinet for the door and drawer hardware, let's go ahead and make a few changes in here. For the door handle, I'm going to browse out to the library, and I'm going to change it to the cubic knob, and I'm going to do the same exact thing for the drawer. So on the drawer handle, we'll just browse out to the library, do the exact same thing. When I close the cabinet dialog, I'm going to use the material eyedropper. I'm going to pick up the glass off of the window and I'm going to apply it onto the knobs. When those changes are complete, I'm going to go ahead and select the cabinet and I'm going to set it as the default, which means when I place additional cabinets or new cabinets, it will have those same exact properties. For the cabinet on the left, I'm going to create a bank of 3 drawers. On the face item, let's go ahead and change that item type to a drawer. And then I'm going to use the split horizontal to create a bank of 3 drawers. Then I'm going to also resize that to be 18 inches. Now before I bump it against the wall here, let's go ahead and place a filler in between the wall and the cabinet. Using the base filler, I'll place that against the wall, and then let's go ahead and open that up and resize it to be 1 inch. And then I'll go ahead and bump the first base cabinet off to the side over here. And then let's take this cabinet, resize it to be 36 inches. We'll bump it against the other cabinet, and then the next thing I want to do is I actually want to remove the drawer off of this cabinet. Inside of the cabinet dialog, I'll click on that face item, use the delete key, and remove it. Place one more cabinet here in the center of the room. And what I want to do is I want to resize this cabinet to be 33 inches. I'll resize that to be 33 inches. Let's open up the cabinet dialog. And on the door style, I'm going to go ahead and browse out to the library and replace that door style to be cross storage. The place you do that is on the door and drawer panel. Let's go over to the door style, browse out to the library, and all I'm going to do is search for cross storage. This is an accessory that we can actually replace the door with. Let's go ahead and remove the door hardware, clean that up. And then on the front of the door, let's go back in here. An auto right and an auto left door, anytime a cabinet is resized beyond 27 inches, it will change to be a double door automatically. I can always force that to be a single door. In that case, let's go ahead and set that up. One more small change. Let's go ahead and remove the separation at the bottom of this cabinet. I'll highlight the face item, press delete. And then I'll use the material eyedropper to apply the color onto those cross shelves. The final cabinet, let's go ahead and use the cabinet for the sink base in the center. We'll use the copy and reflect about you'll find in your lower edit menu. We'll flip that around the center cabinet. Now that completes the lower cabinets. If you take a look at the rendering, I'm going to stack another cabinet on top of those used to contain the slab or the rocks that will go inside of it. In plan view with the base cabinet tool, let's just place a base cabinet out here off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and resize this. I'll bump it against the wall. And the length that I want to set this at inside the cabinet dialog be about 1.5 inches longer than the other cabinet runs. So I'm going to set it at 124.5. And on the item height, I'm going to set it at 4.5 inches. And then on the depth, I'm going to go ahead and set that to 22 inches so it sticks out slightly past the other boxes. And then on the floor to bottom, the other cabinet's 28.5 inches, so I'll go ahead and enter that same value in here. Countertop, we'll go ahead and put that at 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to change the overhang to be 1/2 inch on the front. The only face item that I want on the front is a blank area. Let's go ahead and change that drawer to be a blank area. In this view, let's go ahead and snap the cabinet back into the corner. And then let's return to the 3D view. I'm going to use the material eyedropper, pick up the glass off of the window again, and apply that onto the countertop. Now to place the stone or the slab inside of this cabinet box, I'm going to return back to the floor plan view and use the Polyline Solid tool. With that Polyline Solid tool, let's go ahead and just drag from the corner out to the edge of the cabinet. While that's selected, I'm going to concentrically resize it. The letter C on the keyboard will allow me to do that. Notice that it jumped in a concentric manner. And actually, I'm going to extend it out past here so we can actually paint this easily in the 3D view. The next thing I want to do is set the thickness of this to be 2 inches, and then I'm going to set the floor to top to be 31 inches so it sits inside of that cabinet box. Now back to 3D, let's open up the library and find the material that we want to paint. Let's go into the Caesarstone library and let's choose this material in here and apply it onto that slab in there. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create some emissivity to this so it actually glows in the evening. Using the Adjust Material definition, let's click on this and I'm going to set the emissivity of this down here on the Properties, and I'm just going to change the emissivity slightly. I'm going to use a value of 0.5. That emissivity allows it to glow a little bit, especially when I turn the lights down. Let's go ahead and slide this back into place. And now I'm going to go ahead and change the colors for the cabinets. Let's use the material Eyedropper, pick up the casing color, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and apply it in the room mode and change all colors of that same alder color to white. And then I need to find a black color. Let's just search in the library here for a black. I'm going to use that black and I'm going to change my scoping back to the object and we'll just apply it to that top box. And now you can see the way that that looks. A few minor things while I have the library open. Let's go ahead and close this filter. Browse back out to my favorites folder here. I'm going to place a cabinet that I've already created and saved into my library. Let's go ahead and place that on top of this cabinet. And then let's find a sink and faucet in here. And I may have to place this off to the side and center. Let's see. Again, it's a little easier to place these in your 2D view. Let's go ahead and rotate that around and we'll center it on the cabinet. And let's actually go back into the plan view so that I can center it before I copy it to the other side in the depth of this cabinet. I'm just going to draw a marquee around that component. I'm going to use the center tool and I'm just going to center it on that cabinet. While it's still selected, I'm going to use the copy and reflect tool and we'll come around that center cabinet or that center window and place it in position. And then as we turn back to the 3D view, you can see all of the components for this vanity. This vanity can be blocked and saved to the library, and you can reuse it as a single block. It's a great way to take advantage of different cabinets, as you saw that when I put this top cabinet on top, to save yourself time if you have a similar configuration that you want to use. In this segment of the video, I'm going to create a wall elevation, and here's what the outcome is going to look like when we finish the wall elevation. From the plan view, I'm going to use the wall elevation tool. I'm going to come through and click through the wall, and I'm actually on the outside of that bathtub so you can actually see where the bathtub's being cut. I'm going to make sure in Chief Architect Premiere that my dimension defaults are on the NKBA, and underneath the automatic tool I'm going to use the NKBA auto elevation dimensions. This tool places most of the dimensions you need, and it does require some cleanup. Let's kind of work our way left to right. I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to pull off these extra components that it shows up on the cabinet. They're not necessary since they're actually on the left side of the wall. I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the window as well. I'm not very interested in having it on the bottom of the window. Come around the bottom of the dimension line, looks good. A lot of times what I like to do on these center lines is pull them up into the fixture a little bit. You can simply come in here and pull them up. Notice that it missed those freestanding sinks. When you select the dimension, there's actually an extra diamond down here, and I'm just going to drag that up, put it onto the sink, and I'll do the same thing on the other sink. Now notice that it didn't put a center line below the extension. There is a number here since it's highlighted, and if I double click on that, I want to change dimensions number 2 and number 3. On the extensions component of this dialog, let's go down to number 2. We'll use mark as centerline, and also number 3, mark as centerline. With that designation correct, let's go ahead and click on the end of these. We'll pull that up into the cabinet, and the bottom dimension string looks okay. On this dimension string, let's zoom in a little bit. If you zoom in, you can actually see a little move handle that you can move these dimension strings out, so if you want some clarity in there. Notice it picked up that freestanding cabinet on the top. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. I'm also going to remove it off of the casing on this window. Let's go ahead and select that. We'll move it up off the casing. and that dimension string looks pretty good. That completes most of the dimensioning that I need. The next step that I want to do is I actually want to create a custom LED mirror on this elevation view. The custom LED mirror, as you can see in this watercolor render, is actually made up of two components. One is the mirror portion and the other is the LED portion. Let's go back into the elevation view, and I'm going to use the Polyline solid to create these two components. I'm going to come over here and click and drag. Again, I'm going to press the tab key so I can enter in some dimensions here. And for the width, I'm going to put in 28 inches. And then on the height of this, I'm going to go ahead and put in 4 feet. Let's go ahead and set the thickness of this to be 3/8. And I'm going to go ahead and center that on the cabinet. It's pretty close now, but I'm going to use the center tool. Come over here and center it exactly on the cabinet. We'll slide it up. Let's go ahead and position it with our dimensions. Let's go ahead and drag our dimension over here. I'm going to create one copy of this. Let's go ahead and use the copy tool, slide it over. And with a temporary dimension, let's go ahead and slide that into place. Probably set it at something like 4 inches in width. And while that object's still selected, let's go ahead and use the copy and reflect around, again, that cabinet. And now I have the two components that I need. In our 3D view, let's go ahead and open up the library, find the mirror component, and let's go ahead and spray that onto the center portion. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to find a white color, but not the same white is used on the casing. Let's just browse out and find a white color that will be different because I'm going to make it emissive. I'm going to grab this white and I'm going to apply it onto both of the side panels. And like we did with the rock set underneath the countertop, let's use our adjust material definition, find this color, change the emissivity to 0.75, and you can see the effects. Let's go ahead and group select this. I'm going to create a block out of it. And then while it's still selected, let's go ahead and copy it and reflect it around that center cabinet and place the mirror on the other side. You can easily add this into your library as well. Highlight it. Click Add to Library, and then give it a good name inside your library. And now you have the ability to save that mirror and reuse it. Next, I'm going to place a few accessories. Then I'm going to come back and place an LED light strip in the front of the cabinet so you can get an effect that looks something like you see in the rendering here on the screen. So let's go back to the wall elevation. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place a towel holder off to the left of the mirror over here. And you can position it, get it into position, and then I'm just going to use the copy tool, slide that over to the other side, see if we have any room in here. Might be a little tight. And then from the plan view, I'm going to place some rolled towels down here in this cabinet. I'll do that from the plan view. And in the plan view, let's go ahead and change it to our interior plan set so we can actually see the components that we're going to place a little more clearly. We'll grab those rolled towels. I'm just going to sit here and click and place those rolled towels somewhere in this cabinet, and then we'll just slide those back, and in the elevation view you can kind of square those up. You can see where they're at in the elevation view. They actually look pretty good. And then again, let's go back to the plan view. Let's place our shower accessories. I blocked all of these components together. You can place them individually. In this case, I placed them as an entire block. Once I place those, we'll just kind of slide those into position. And then I also did the same thing with the closet furniture. I blocked the entire shelving and components down here. And a lot of times you'll need to place that outside the room when it's a large block, and then you can then position it into place. Let's go back to the 3D view and take a look. So in the 3D view you can see all of these components. There's the accessories from the shower and the closet, all the components that make up the bath. It makes it a pretty easy process to do. Now the last thing we want to do inside of the bath, let's zoom in here. So I actually want to create a strip that would be lit from the back of the wall with an LED strip light embedded in the wall. And again, here's a rendering. This is the effect that I want to get out of putting this LED strip at the back of the wall, and I'm actually going to get the effect by placing a molding polyline and making it emissive at the front of that cabinet countertop. I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to draw a line the length of the cabinet run. Highlight the line. I'm going to convert it to a molding polyline. For the height of the line, I'm going to set it up off the floor 33 inches and account for the subfloor at 7/8. I'm going to assign a molding profile that's pretty simple and rectangular. I'm going to browse out. We'll find a rectangular molding. And we'll set the height of this to the same as the countertop at 1/2 inch. And then I'm also going to set the width to be quite small at 1/4 inch. Now before I position that to the countertop edge, let's go into the 3D view and paint it so we can actually get to it, and then we'll move it into position. Using a material color that I like, I'm going to grab that color and apply it onto that molding profile that's out in the middle of the room. And with the Adjust Materials definition, let's increase the lumen count for the emissivity to be at 500 lumens. That has the desired effect. We'll go back into the plan view and position that strip where we need to. Go ahead and zoom in, and I'm going to use a point-to-point move. I'm going to click on the edge of that object, and we'll just come over here and place it in there. Go back to the camera view. You can see the strip light, and then if we go back to an overhead camera view, it can be a little bit more dramatic if you toggle the sunlight on and off. You can now see the effects of that change with the emissivity. Well, that wraps up the video. Just to kind of summarize a few of the things, we took our as-built condition, which you can see in the 3D. We extended it to the bathroom that we just finished. We took a look at designing our plans, looking at the 2D details, being able to overlay the demo walls, the new walls, and then what the floor plan is going to look like, and finished up the design. I've taken all of these components, the renderings, the elevations, the materials that we used, created a cabinet schedule, and you can see what the layout sheet, this is 24 by 36, looks like for this particular project. Thanks for watching the video. Remember, we have other great videos available on our website in the various video playlists. Take a look, and thanks for watching.